The story of the Holy Grail is one of the most captivating and enduring legends in Western culture, a symbol of divine grace, spiritual enlightenment, and the eternal search for truth. Rooted in Christian tradition and intertwined with the chivalric ideals of the Middle Ages, the Grail has inspired countless tales of knights, quests, and spiritual awakenings. It has also spawned a variety of interpretations, from the mystical to the historical and even the controversial. To understand the truth behind the Holy Grail, we must explore its origins, evolution, and the various meanings it has acquired over time. The legend of the Holy Grail has its origins in both Christianity and Arthurian romance. While these two sources blend together in the medieval imagination, it is important to separate them to better understand the Grail's multifaceted nature. In Christian lore, the Holy Grail is often understood to be the cup or chalice used by Jesus Christ during the Last Supper, where he shared wine with his disciples and symbolically initiated the sacrament of the Eucharist. This same chalice, according to legend, was later used by Joseph of Arimathea to collect the blood of Christ during the crucifixion. Joseph of Arimathea plays a crucial role in early Christian traditions surrounding the Grail. According to medieval sources, after Christ's death, Joseph was entrusted with the Grail and traveled to Britain, where he founded the first Christian church at Glastonbury. The Grail, as a Christian relic, became a symbol of divine grace, holiness, and the quest for salvation. It was viewed as a vessel that not only held Christ's blood, but also carried the promise of eternal life to those who were worthy. The Grail enters the world of Arthurian romance during the 12th century, with the works of Tirotien de Troyes, a French poet, marking one of the earliest literary mentions of the Grail. In Tirotien's unfinished work, Percival, or the Story of the Grail is introduced not as a Christian relic, but as a mysterious, supernatural object. Here, the Grail is a dish that appears during a feast, carried by a procession of maidens, though its purpose and nature remain unclear. This initial ambiguity allowed later writers to expand and redefine the Grail in various ways. By the time of Robert de Boron, a 13th century poet, the Grail had become solidly associated with the Christian tradition. In Boron's work, Joseph d'Arimathea, the Grail is identified as the chalice from the Last Supper, linking it directly with the blood of Christ and imbuing it with the holy significance that would become central to later Grail literature. As the Grail legend developed over the centuries, it became more than just a religious relic or a chivalric object. It grew to embody a range of spiritual, moral, and esoteric ideals, reflecting the changing cultural and philosophical landscapes of the Middle Ages and beyond. The Christian interpretation of the Holy Grail dominated much of medieval literature. The Grail, as a Christian relic, symbolized the Eucharist, the promise of salvation, and the grace of God. Knights who embarked on the Grail quest were not merely seeking a physical object, but were undertaking a spiritual journey, one that required purity of heart, faith, and devotion to God. This quest was often seen as a test of moral and spiritual worth. In Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, only Sir Galahad, the son of Sir Lancelot and a symbol of chastity and spiritual perfection, is able to achieve the Grail. The quest is portrayed as a metaphor for the soul's journey toward God, with the Grail representing divine knowledge and the beatific vision that awaits the faithful in heaven. The Christianized Grail myth also introduced the idea of the Grail as a healing object, capable of curing ailments, restoring life, and bringing peace to the land. In this sense, the Grail took on a messianic role, much like Christ himself, as a source of redemption and salvation. In Wolfram von Eschenbach's Parzival, the Grail is not a chalice but a stone, known as the Lapsid Exilis, with miraculous powers. This stone, which provides sustenance and life to those who possess it, reflects more mystical and alchemical interpretations of the Grail, tying it to ideas of spiritual transformation, enlightenment, and the philosopher's stone. Over the centuries, numerous claims have been made regarding the discovery of the physical Holy Grail. Various relics have been identified as the Grail, most notably the Chalice of Valencia, a cup housed in the Cathedral of Valencia, Spain, which many believe to be the true Holy Grail. The Chalice of Valencia is a 1st century agate cup with a rich history, and it has been used in papal ceremonies, giving it a certain degree of credibility. However, despite its impressive provenance, there is no definitive proof that this chalice is the same one used by Christ at the Last Supper.